What is up guys, my name is German and welcome to the Vizy tutorial. First things first, what's Vizy? Well, Vizy is a free online visualization tool with some pretty sick advanced features. You can make spectrums, you can add videos, animate properties and so much more. As you can see right here, you can make some pretty sick videos with it. Vizy isn't limited by arbitrary settings bounds like some of the competition, namely RenderForest, Spectre, etc. It's a lot closer to a full editor like After Effects or AviPlayer, because you can practically make anything in Vizy. Today I'll try to cover some of the more basic features of it all, adding layers, items, effects and automations. So we are going to create a very simple project from scratch. Let me just switch tabs here. So this is what you're presented with when you're going to the website. So this is just like a page explaining everything you need to know. There are some ads of course, but we gotta keep it running, so yeah. And you can see all the bullet points and features here. So we're just gonna jump straight ahead and create a new video. So this is just like a very simple project with just 3 items and no effects. So it's just it looks like this pretty much. But to show you what to do, I'm gonna clear all objects. So this is an empty project. So let's just add a new layer, and this is gonna be our spectrum, or rather let's make it our background. So you just go and hit this little plus, or you can right click and add item. We are adding the image item. You can see all the categories here. There's a lot of items and you can choose what to add. So we're gonna add the image, and we can go into stock images and just drag and drop. And there you go, that's an image. You can toggle this right here in basics, auto background. And that way, if you drag here onto the preview, exactly this image item will get the image. So you can change backgrounds quickly. You can use the search. So let's find something nice. Let's find a beach, for example. So we add an image, and yeah, that looks nice. So let's name our layer. Let's name it background. There you go. So that's just a background. Nothing's happening. I mean, if you're into that, you can render as is, but we're not gonna do that. So let's add another layer. This is gonna be our particles layer. So let's add some particles. Let's see. Let's use these. So these are regular particles. They look kind of like Trap Nations particles. As you can see, they're already reacting to the audio. So let's just change the settings a bit. To change settings, you drag along this text field. You can also use these buttons for more fine adjustment, or you can click on it and type your own value. That's a bit too much, so let's do 4 and let's slow them down. You can see these names might not be representative, but you can hover over it, and in most cases, not like this, but in most cases you can see a little tooltip that will explain what the parameter does. So yeah, that looks good. So let's just maybe up the count of the particles. And maybe the image is too bright, so let's go into color and use the alpha to just make the image dimmer. Just like that. And now let's add the most interesting part. Let's name the layer, and we'll add the spectrum. So we go into add item and we choose spectrum item, and here you can choose from a bunch of presets. You don't have to choose presets, you can use all these settings, layers, you can add and remove them. You can change the color, and everything you need is here. There's also the audio settings, but let's not dive into that. So let's select something like this, for example. So this is what it looks like right now. Already a pretty decent visualizer. But it's a bit boring, don't you think? So let's go into positioning and size, and let's automate the scale. So here's our scale multiplier. This is what controls the scale of the whole spectrum. So let's set it to 2, and then we click this, the little 3 dots, add automation. So now we have a menu that tells us to choose the controller to automate. We've already chosen scale multiplier. It gets chosen automatically if you go into the 3 dots. So let's hit choose. Let's select audio impact. That will automate to the audio. So let's type in the maximum value. Let's make it to 25. So let's look at it now. That's a lot more interesting, but it's still a bit boring. So let's add an effect. Let me name this layer so it doesn't annoy me. So you can right click it and hit add effect. There you can choose from a bunch of different effects. They all do different things, and you can see a little preview of what they do here. But for now I'm just gonna cover camera shake because that's the most common one. So let's just select it and hit add effect, and now it shakes. Let me just disable autoscale because autoscale introduces some aliasing and it looks really weird and low quality. It might be useful for stuff like backgrounds, for example. So let's turn it off, and so we don't have to worry about that. And now we go and zero everything. Actually, let me set this to 12. So let's automate these amplitude X and Y. These control basically how much the spectrum moves. So let's add an automation and go like, let's set the max to 5. That should be enough. And let's go into spectrum again, and these are called controllers, by the way. So let's add this one to our automation. If an automation is within this item, it's shown in this thing, so you can select it quickly. Now let's see what it looks like. Well, maybe that's a bit too much. Let's reduce it to 2. So this looks interesting already. This looks good. But it looks a bit stiff, so let's add some motion blur. I like to decrease the spread to 0 and increase the copies. It looks really natural and it doesn't really affect the performance that much. There you go. So this looks good, but maybe you want to do something with the spectrum, like something special. For example, if it's a drop, maybe you want to rotate the spectrum and like do it only once. So there is a rotation controller here, and it controls, well, the rotation of the item. So let's automate that. See this little square here? It says record automation. So you can move somewhere, for example here. And let's record a little automation. This is called a keyframe automation, and it's basically gonna be played once, and it's controlled by visible keyframes, so you can edit them and edit their values and everything like that. So let's hit it, and let's move here, for example, and let's adjust it. Maybe let's set it to 360. So that should do it. Let's stop recording the automation. Maybe a bit faster, so let's just drag this keyframe on the timeline, and let's see. Yeah, that looks cool. So maybe the background is a bit boring, so let's add another effect. You can also add the effects this way. You click on the layer and there's an add effect button. So let's click it and add the flicker effect. Let me just adjust some settings so it doesn't look weird. And let me just decrease the amplitude. So let's add an automation again. This time we're gonna do max value 1. And that will make our background flicker. That's a bit too low, but you see how it reacts to almost anything, like all the bass and everything else? You can adjust that with the lower limit setting in automations. So let's set it to, I don't know, maybe 180, and let's set the max value to 2.5. Maybe a bit more, so let's set it to 210 for example. Yep, that looks good. It only reacts to the kicks. So basically if it's quiet, it doesn't react. So it only reacts to louder sounds. And the kick is a loud sound, so you can see how it only reacts to the kicks. Let me actually up it even more. So let's say you don't like how the particles move. Let's alter that. There is this little button. It's also toggled by Ctrl E. So let's toggle it. And this is the 3D view. You can control it with your mouse, you can zoom with your mouse wheel, move with your right click, etc. So we select particles here, and this little bouncing box appears, which will help us move it. And let me just move it like this, for example. This will move them to the side. So yeah, that looks good to me. And let's maybe add something else. Let's maybe add a text. So you can choose the text item and you can select draw time, make it darker. And let's change the font to something better. So this is Source Sans Pro. And let's move the text right here. So now in the corner there will be some time text. So yeah, now there's a time text here and you can see it all the time. Let's maybe bring it in with like an intro. So let's move it down more than 500. If you hit a boundary like that, you cannot move above that. You can use your keyboard to enter more. So let's do 550 and let's record an automation to 490. So yep, that should be good. And there you go. And it will reset every time you hit stop because you're at 0 time. So it will appear. Now, once you're done messing with all of the settings, you've like the project and you want to save it, go to File and hit Save or hit Ctrl S. This will save your project to your profile. Obviously you need to register to store data, but I'm sure you'll have no problems with that. So you can load this project from this projects pane and you can go to the main website again. You can go to your profile, close the ad, and you can see the project here as well. So let's just go into it. And there you go. This is your project. It's the same as we left it. So yeah, that's all you need. I suggest you save often because it may crash. It's still an alpha. So let's go to File, Export, and we hit Start Export. That will just export the video in 1080p 60 fps with the default settings, but you can show advanced settings and change them. And I gotta let you know there's a 2 GB or 4 GB limit depending on if you have this checked, and this is a limitation in the browser, unfortunately. So keep your settings in mind when you're rendering, and if you're rendering a big file you have to decrease the bitrate, otherwise it will run out of memory and crash. So if you don't care about storage, like in this case it's a very short project, let's select ultra fast and I'm gonna change constant quality. Constant quality is basically varying bitrate per frame depending on what's in the frame, but I'm gonna change it to average bitrate because it's easier to know the file size that way, and I'm gonna change it to 25. These are the settings I use to render my videos in, and it's just generally a really good quality video file, even though YouTube compresses it further. So when you're done with all of this, you can start export, and it will just start rendering. So this is the real-time render speed, and you're seeing what I'm seeing right now, and it's really fast compared to Avi Player or After Effects. So now that it's done rendering, you can see it has downloaded the file automatically here. If it hasn't, you can click this button and it will download again. See? And I'll show you what the finished video file looks like. So once you're done rendering, please pay attention to this sign right here. We've put this here to hopefully increase attention to our website, because it's still kind of unpopular and more people need to know about it. Know that it's not mandatory, but it's really appreciated if you can put this in your description. That way people can know that this video has been rendered with Vizy and how good it looks. So let's get back to the project. Let's just hit back. This is a small bug here where you have to click back 3 times. So when you're done rendering, you can just close out the editor, and that's all you need. But let's say you opened it again and you want to render a different song. You can choose the song you want in here. So you press this button and you can choose any audio file. Please keep in mind that WAV files will not be stored on our cloud servers, but you can still upload them and render with them. They just won't be saved in your project. And any MP3 files or OGG or FLAC files, you can store them right in Vizy, and when you load the project, they will be there next time. And let's say you want a different background. Let's just pick a random one from here and drag and drop it here. And there you go. So just like that, you can render again. And if your project is really good and you think other people might benefit from it, you can publish it to the community section. So you go to project, publish to community, and there you go. Project is now a community project. And let's go into community. So the tab is called creations. You click on it and we pick a project. Ideally we pick it every week, but sometimes we forget, so it might be like the project of the month. So this has been for a while here, and there's your project. You can see it right here. If you don't want your project to be a community project anymore, you can go into project and unpublish from community, and just like that. If we go back to creations, it's not there anymore. You can explore here and see a lot of user-made projects that other people have shared. So let's go into most popular, for example. And there's my Vizy Nation project. It's basically just a clone of Trap Nation, like as close as I can get to it. And since I'm recording, I'm gonna toggle the wind particles because they take a lot of processing power and they lag. So let's play. Oh, let me mute that so I don't get copyright claimed. And now you can see the project. And so if you like the project and you want to modify it for yourself, you can just change the logo here. You can use this button to upload your image. Let's clear it and maybe let's change the color right here. Let's just change it to black so it looks cool. And then if you like it, you can save it as new. that will save this project to your profile. It will just make a copy for you, and you can publish those forked projects, and you can see the project history here. And let me just remove this, and that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover today. This is just like the very basics of the editor. There's a lot of features to cover, like look at all these settings. You can change everything about the spectrum, everything, how it reacts and everything. And there's loads of parameters in each item and each effect. And it's gonna take ages to cover, but this is just the basics to get you started. And I hope you can get the gist of it and you can start messing around with different effects and items to see what you like. I hope you liked this video and I hope you learned something today. So thank you for watching and I hope I see you again. Peace.